Drop your city and your local time in the comments. He exhales into a Saturday that smells of pepper pine sap and charcoal, a dad and a soft tea who believes backyard lunch is the world's simplest technology. Blanket ribs, lemonade, laughter. No firmware updates required. The maple throws generous shade like a friendly bouncer. Tyler lofts a frisbee with the ambition of a satellite. Mia arranges wildflowers with the focus of a tiny museum curator. Elena brushes sauce over ribs that sizzle like applause. And he thinks this right here might be the point of a mortgage, a square of earth, where joy can be loud and gentle at the same time. He jokes that the picnic blanket is VIP seating, which gets a grin from Elena and an eye roll from Tyler, the universal exchange rate of dad humor. Across the street, the lace curtain twitches again. Mrs. Evelyn Harrow tracks them the way airport radar tracks thunderstorms. He tries to chalk it up to curiosity. Historians still argue whether neighborhood covenants descend from London guild charters or early American deed restrictions, but everyone agrees nosy curtains predate both by centuries. Quirky tidbit of the day: Victorian wallpaper sometimes used arsenic pigment, which makes the HOA's obsession with harmonious palettes feel suddenly avant-garde and faintly hazardous. He keeps the speaker at a whisper, soft R&B volume set to butter melting and announces that the ribs need one more standing ovation, which Mia declares is cringe but delicious. The lemonade sweats in the heat like a commuter who barely caught the train. He reminds Mia to keep chalk drawings on their driveway, not the sidewalk. Another diplomacy treaty signed in crayon. Somewhere he swears an invisible rule book takes notes with a gold pen. Then Evelyn marches over, arms folded tight enough to crack walnuts. He gives a non-threatening wave, the universal sign for, "We have napkins." She points at the speaker as if it's auditioning for Coachella. "This is outrageous," she says. Elena's voice stays calm, a nurse in every syllable. "We're just eating lunch." Evelyn drops the phrase that turns air to ice, "you people," and the temperature shifts the way a room changes when the projector dies 5 minutes into a presentation. He steadies his voice, tells her they're on their own lawn, invites her to take the afternoon off from policing potato salad. Joke 3 arrives on schedule. It leaves without a tip. She doesn't dial 911. She summons the HOA patrol, 2 men in golf cart uniforms with badges that shine like participation trophies. The cart zips up, sounding like a blender applying for a louder job. Clipboard man announces unauthorized assembly, which is funny because if 4 sandwiches make an assembly, every lunchbox is a parliament. He keeps the dad voice steady. They're on their grass. No alcohol, no problem. The younger guard steps over the property line, boot flattening clover with the confidence of someone who's never met a boundary. His hand drifts too near Elena's elbow. Reflex wins. The dad moves between them. Open palm. Traffic cop calm. "Please, step off our property." The guard yelps assault, a word that flies faster than Tyler's frisbee, and Evelyn's phone grabs the angle that turns a boundary into a brawl. Remember that arsenic wallpaper pretty until it isn't. Sirens needle the afternoon. Real cruisers this time. Doors swing. Commands stack, hands up. The script closes before anyone reads the footnotes. Gravel bites his knees. The cuffs click cold and too loud. Tyler's frisbee loses its orbit and sighs into the grass. Mia hides her face in Elena's side. He meets his wife's eyes, steady, furious, unblinking, and breathes, "It's going to be okay." A promise he intends to make true, even if he has to learn municipal code by bedtime. Somewhere the neighborhood app hums awake, and the map begins to redraw them in the wrong color. He rides the fluorescent night like a bad carnival, wrists tingling where the cuffs wrote temporary tattoos, and by dawn Bale eats the promotion whole. The receipt looks like it was typed by a hungry vacuum. The holding room chairs feel like they were designed by a committee of cacti. The coffee tastes suspiciously like someone brewed a traffic cone, and yet he signs, steps out, breathes. Back home, the cruiser's scent plastic rain-old coffee still clings to him, and the maple that hosted ribs now seems like a witness who would prefer not to be called. His phone won't stop buzzing. The neighborhood app has discovered cinema. Evelyn's clip-cropped, tilted caption spins through comments. Siren emojis get sprinkled like salt. And his name trends on a block where garbage day used to be the breaking news. He drafts a response, deletes it, drafts again, remembers that arguing on apps is like wrestling, fog, exhausting, and no one gets a trophy, then flips the phone face down as it vibrates like a guilty cricket. Tyler retreats into sketchbooks, penciling caped guardians who never look away. Mia asks for 2 nightlights and 1 extra hug per headline. He invents a bedtime tale where the lost frisbee writes its own orbit back home, and she giggles into Elena's shoulder like the punchline finally landed. The mailbox cosplays as a printer, spitting envelopes in stern fonts fines, stacking like nesting dolls that hiss when opened. Historians still argue whether the first neighborhood watch was solidarity or sleeplessness with stationery. But this version feels like theater directed by a curtain. Quirky tidbit. While they triage the paperwork, forensic linguists can identify writers by punctuation habits and favorite dashes. Harlan later chuckles that Thorpe's emails have a telltale double space-gate cowboy boots in a ballroom, which turns out to matter. He jokes that if the HOA wants harmony so badly, maybe they should start by tuning their commas. Elena snorts into her tea, then reminds him commas can't post bail. At the grocery, neighbors who once traded tomato seedlings suddenly study cereal boxes like they're taking the bar exam. The block chat posts a forecast 100% chance of side-eye, and for once, nails it. Someone slows the video, someone adds dramatic strings, someone draws authoritative arrows that point to absolutely nothing. He murmurs that if 4 sandwiches counted as an assembly. Yesterday 3 stairs must make a quorum today. Elena groans, kisses his temple, and hands him coffee that tastes like a pep talk with elbow grease. For a minute he imagines a for sale sign writing a resignation letter on their lawn. But Elena folds his hands and says no running is a lesson he will not teach their kids. So they document. They calendar. They learn the statute numbers the way other families learn baseball stats. He clamps a tiny camera to the maple like a secret birdhouse. She keeps a spiral notebook that could moonlight as a metronome for truth. Then they lawyer up. Harlan arrives like a punctuation mark, tall full stop, no italics. And yes, he bills in paragraphs, but every sentence aims at daylight. Vito the PI is a trench coat in July, purely metaphorical. It's hot and starts turning over stones with emails under them. He pulls prior restraining orders against Evelyn from diverse families on adjacent streets, unearths her late-night screeds about standards pitched in the key of you people, and inside HOA threads finds President Thorpe cueing his patrol like stage directions. Monitor the new family, prioritize compliance at 14B, the kind of phrasing that smiles while it sharpens. Harlan brings in a linguist friend who matches Thorpe's board newsletters to those anonymous directives by punctuation, fingerprint the double-space cowboy boots clopping across both sets of messages. They add affidavits, body cam minutes that never made it into Evelyn's movie, and a property line map so clear it could double as a placemat. When an officer finally watches the uncut footage and mutters a small round, "Oh, it isn't an apology, but it's a hinge," the fear doesn't vanish. It shares a couch with resolve and occasionally steals the blanket. But the binder grows heavy, the story steadies, and remember that arsenic wallpaper pretty until it isn't. Now they've got the lab tests. Mediation smells like dry carpet and peppermint. The universal cologne of rooms where truths are coaxed rather than shouted. He sits beside Elena, palms steady on a binder that could anchor a small boat. Harlan opens with the clean click of a fountain pen, the same imaginary gold pen that's been annotating their lives, and lays out the timeline, the punctuation fingerprint, the board directives that smile while they tighten. Thorpe avoids eye contact, like eye contact charges by the minute. Evelyn fidgets with her pearls so hard the clasp petitions for union rights. The moderator asks for calm. He offers it along with the uncut footage, the body cam minutes, the map that makes unauthorized assembly look exactly like 4 sandwiches on a blanket. Quirky tidbit. Before the fuse meets the powder, Robert's rules were inspired by a military manual because even peacetime meetings tend to duel with adjectives. Historians still argue whether early neighborhood associations were more about protecting property values or policing who counted as neighbor, but in this room the answer clears its throat and steps on stage. Harlan mentions Elena's heirloom roses. Evelyn snaps that certain flowers don't belong, and then the mask slides, the old you people leaks into daylight, and Thorpe's shoulders fold like lawn chairs after a storm. Joke 1, somewhere a golf cart files for emotional support status. Joke 2, if commas need harmony, this sentence just threw a drum kit down the stairs. Joke 3, the moderator's peppermint bowl starts to look like a stress test in candy form. The offer arrives fast. Settlement fees, damages, training, public apology, a board reset, patrol guidelines that read like a reality check. No police branding, no property entry cameras on biases, out. Charges evaporate as if someone finally read the footnotes out loud. He inhales, thinks of Tyler's sketchbook Guardians of Mia's Lanterns of the Frisbee, practicing its orbit in the forgiving physics of a backyard. He signs not like a victory lap, more like a treaty, an end to a small neighborhood war that was never small. That night under the maple, the yard is quiet enough to hear lemonade fizz. They've won, yes, but haunted rooms don't empty on command. They fade by degrees like arsenic wallpaper finally stripped for sunlight. He weighs staying versus leaving healing in place or planting elsewhere. Elena laces her fingers through his, says they'll choose when the choosing feels like a door, not an escape hatch. For once he doesn't force a joke. He lets the leaves make the only applause. He sits a little longer than usual, letting the evening come in layers, the way steam leaves a kettle, first a whisper, then a ribbon, then nothing but warmth. And in that soft drift, the map of the day smooths its sharp edges. The sirens far away. Now the yard exhaling the faint sweetness of cut clover and summer dust. The maple playing its old instrument, a hush that sounds like safety, learning to speak again slowly, carefully. He can feel Elena's shoulders settle against his, an ordinary weight. And that's the point, that's the medicine, ordinary things returning to their ordinary names, bench blanket, lemonade, lantern, the kind of vocabulary that refuses to raise its voice. Tyler pads out and leans on the railing, says he redrew a hero without armor, just eyes that don't look away. Mia brings the frisbee and sets it on the table as if it were a moon that finally remembered the sky, and the four of them take turns not talking for a while, a silence long enough to grow roots gentle enough to hold. Beyond the fence, a night bird tries a sentence, revises, it gets it right. And in that tiny revision, he hears the future doing its work, one careful edit at a time. He thinks about doors, the kind that close softly, and the kind that open on quiet rooms, and he tells himself in a voice he believes a little more each time, that whatever they choose, staying to repaint the story, leaving to plant new shade, the choice will be theirs, not fears, not anyone else's need for smaller skies. The house breathes, the street rests, the map redraws itself in kinder lines. And as the last light finds the glass and goes to sleep, he is content to follow, to slow down with it, to let the night stitch what the day tore one patient silvery thread at a time, until even worry remembers how to whisper.